Hello, crypto world. Welcome to the Chart Historian. My name is Justin, and on this channel, I delve deep into crypto charts, exploring chart structures, fractals, and patterns. So, today I am looking at the Bitcoin chart, and I'd like to discuss something that I don't see being talked about much, but I think it's potentially important. Now, I apologize for my lack of videos recently. I was on vacation and we were taking a hike and my wife broke her leg, and I have been preoccupied with helping my wife and my family during this time. So hopefully from here on out I will be a bit more faithful with putting out videos on a regular basis. So anyways, I would like to bring your attention to something here on the Bitcoin chart. So if you notice that this line here where it marks the peak of the previous bull market right here before the correction in 2018, this right here, this time, the price has gone below this line. Now I want to explore Bitcoin and see, has this ever happened before? So I'm going to methodically go through the Bitcoin history and examine the chart to see if we can find where this has taken place, and if it has taken place, what it means for Bitcoin. What does history indicate or tell us what could potentially take place in this setup? Now, I am using the Bitcoin US dollar index by TradingView. Some charts, they have the peaks and the troughs a little different, so I'm using this one for this video. So to start, I am going to go back to the very beginning. So this is the very beginning of Bitcoin. As you can see right here, this is where it begins. And I'm going to, like I said, methodically go through the Bitcoin chart. So here was the first move up and correction. And then here was the second one. This took place in 2010. This one took place in 2011. And as you can see, the trough here does not go below. You can see that I'm placing a line roughly at the peak of that one trough of right here, and this does not go below that. So let's move on and see what history has to show us. Okay, so here is the next correction that took place. This peak was in 2011, and as you can see, the previous one that I had on the chart is way down here, and let's just align it roughly so you can get a basic idea, but this does not touch that low. In fact, let me throw on a line right here to get the rough location. You can see it does not touch. So far in Bitcoin's history, we have no historical reference to point to what is currently happening today. Let's move on and see what we can learn from history. Okay, so here we are at the next correction that takes place, and this was, the peak was in 2013, and so was this correction here. So let me back up a little, and as you can see, the previous one right here, the 2011 one, was right here. And let's just throw on a line to make it easy to see, a rough idea of where it is. And as you can see, it does not touch this previous high. So price stayed above the previous high from the last correction or bull run. So again, so far we have zero evidence of what is taking place in Bitcoin today in historical references. Let's keep moving on and see if we can find a possible scenario where that took place in history. Okay, so here we are. Here's the previous high. Here we are in 2013. The correction took place in 2014. And finally, folks, we see here the previous all-time high. And what happens here? It dips below. So now we have a historical reference point for what is currently taking place in Bitcoin. Let's see if we can find another one, or if another one exists. So we're going to keep moving on from here and see what history has to show us. Okay, folks, so here we are in 2017, and the decline took place in 2018, and let's throw a line on it and see if we can find that pattern repeating again. So roughly right here, as you can see, it doesn't even come close. So let's move along and see what comes next. Okay, folks, so the next one is where we currently are today. This was the one that took place in 2000. The peak was in 2017. The decline was in 2018. And here we are today. And as I pointed out previously, price has dipped below this previous all-time high. So we have one instance in the entire Bitcoin history where this has happened. Let's go back to that time and further examine it and see what characteristics it has and what took place back then. Okay, so folks, here we are back in 2013, the 2013 peak and the 2014 decline, and here was the previous all-time high. This was in 2013. As you can see, that trend line right here, and you can see that price in this correction dipped below that previous all-time high. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to throw on some Fibonacci retracement levels. I'll place the 1 Fibonacci retracement level here and the 0 one down at the trough over here, or here, wherever it is, and we'll see how things line up and compare it to what is taking place today. Okay, folks, so I placed the Fibonacci retracement levels on the chart. You can see I put the 1 level here and the trough is down here, the 0%. So this capitulation takes place here. It does a bounce since this is a pattern B, and then it moves on into its recovery. Now, if we place a line right here, let's see where this is the initial capitulation. Now, with pattern Bs, there are examples where this stays above this one. This one goes a tiny bit below. So since this has a historical precedent of being unreliable as far as the capitulation point, sometimes it's above this one and sometimes it's below. So I'm going to use this one as the capitulation point. So I'm going to place a trend line here and see where it lines up with this. As you can see, this one dips a tiny bit below here, but this lines up right here with this bounce back up. So price came to initial peak, came crashing down, moved back up on the first bounce. So in Bitcoin corrections, I talk about this on my previous videos. You can go back and watch them. Bitcoin does 3 bounces, 1, 2, 3, to a capitulation point. So on the first of the 3 bounces after the initial peak. So it basically bottoms out right there. So now that we're zoomed in, we can see that price made it just above the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level right here. Let's compare this setup to what is happening on today's chart. Okay, folks, so here is today's chart, and I basically copied the exact same thing I did on the previous chart. So the Fibonacci is placed on this previous all-time high peak. The trough is here at the bottom of this correction. As you can see, this is where it dips below the previous all-time high. So if we zoom in here closely, we'll notice that once again, the same setup is taking place. Price on the initial bounce after the peak. So here's the peak. It crashes, comes back up, does 1, 2, 3, and then goes on to its capitulation point. So as you can see, at the same place, price got above the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level. I also placed a trend line on the peak of this retracement bounce. So let's see how that compares to what is taking place now. So if we zoom out, we see that price has definitely not made it down to this level. And you know what? It might not. But historically speaking, that's what has happened in the past. It should be a possibility in our minds that this same setup is actually playing out again. There has only been one time, people, in Bitcoin's entire history where price made it below the previous all-time high. And that the only one time it has done that, it has on that retracement bounce made it above the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level, which it has done so again. So considering that this part of the structure has been playing out the same as the other time that this situation took place, we should be open to the concept that price may bottom out around this line right here, which is roughly $11,773. Well, it could be a little off, could be a little plus or minus, but that is one potential possibility where Bitcoin could bottom out. Now, on this structure, you can go back and watch my previous videos. I believe this is the initial peak. This has been wave 1. This has been wave 2, and we are currently working on wave 3, which will bring us to a capitulation point, at which point it will do a bounce. Now that bounce may go a little bit below this trend line right here. We will see how things play out. Of course, it could do something very different, but historically speaking, the only time that this situation has happened where price dipped below the previous all-time high, that is what took place. So, I'm not 100% sure that this will play out, but if we go back in history, that's what history has to tell us. If you found this type of video interesting where I deep dive into chart structure and examine the patterns and fractals that exist in the chart, you should hit that subscribe button because you'll be notified of when I put out new videos, which I do on a regular basis. If you found value in this video, it'd be much appreciated if you hit that thumbs up button as well. I'm so glad you caught this video. You know, I am not a financial advisor, so nothing I present here should be construed as financial or investment advice. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you catch my next one. Have a great day, and bye for now.